Troop halt. Distribute the flags. Anybody not have one? Anybody got one? Fall in. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The audience may be seated. Troop, right face. Forward march.
Thank you to our scout troop and to Jeff for their participation so far. We will now move on to our agenda order approval, and this will be for all three agendas.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the agendas as published, with the exception on the amended city council agenda, the main one. We'd like to table item number 8 for a future date. And when we get through with item 16, we'd like to move to the RDA and the MBA meetings. And then we will reconvene for the closed session after those and approve the agendas for those 2 meetings also.
Second. Well, okay, time out. Just kidding.
Change. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Number 9 is the one you want to table.
Okay.
So, Councilman, is the proposal to table the consideration of amending the streets master plan?
Yes.
Okay, that's number 9.
Yes.
Okay, I'll change that to number 9.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Okay, we will now move on to council business.
Mayor, I wanted to thank everyone involved, particularly Bruce Anderson, who spearheaded our cleanup of Highway 56. We collected 7,580 pounds of garbage, mostly in the form of paper and plastic. So it took quite a lot of pickings up to get that much. We really appreciate the public's help in that matter, and it's such a relief to drive down that road now and not see those trash bags flapping onto barbed wire fences. Secondly, there are some folks who were caught unawares because they don't visit the cemetery very often about the plan to clear things out and throw things away. So I asked Brian Dangerfield to maybe hold on to things that they took off the graves until we can publicize that somehow a little better. And maybe on the radio or a newsletter, or maybe the press could help. There were some pretty good things thrown away. A lot of shepherd crooks, benches, concrete cherubs, things along those lines. And I don't think people are aware of what they're doing in that way. I think it might also be good for us to set up some sort of a model headstone situation to show people what is permissible and what is. Explain to people why we have the rules we do. When there are things hanging off the sides, the shepherd crooks aiming the wrong way, or flowers hanging off, they damage the weed eater. They get run over by the lawnmower, and there's just general misunderstanding of what goes on there. Little tiny things that are put along headstones actually get sucked into the mower. So some sort of maybe a demonstration. This is what needs to happen. If you're going to have things, they need to be up 6 inches off the ground on some sort of a platform to keep, so they don't interfere with the work of the mowers. It takes a huge amount of additional effort by the crew out there to to work around those things. They do their best, but they're not always successful. You know, make it a lot easier if everyone just sort of kept in the space permitted.
Thank you. Are there other council items? No. Okay, we will move on to our staff comment with Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeremy Valgartson representing the EAC today. I'd like to give you the nomination for the Employee of the Month for June. Anjali, are you here? Hiding in the back. Anjali Pitzer is our Employee of the Month for June. She was nominated by Paul Bittman and endorsed by Tyler. There you are. This is what Paul said about Anjali. Anjali has worked for Cedar City for a little over 1 year. She has brought with her a positive energy and attitude. Anjali is always eager to learn new things. She is very proactive and helpful with everyone in the office. There's no task she is not willing to tackle. She is such a joy to work with, and I'm very glad that she chose to come work with us. So Anjali, on behalf of the EAC, I'd like to thank you for your commitment to the city and present you with this Employee of the Month for June.
Thank you.
The amazing thing about that was Bittman saying something nice about someone. That was
I even punctuated it and spelled it right.
All right, we will move. Are there any other staff comments? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. This is what happens when you run into me earlier in the day.
Yeah, I'll remember that. Mayor and Council, Mike Church with the Fire Department. First of all, I'd like to start off asking to excuse Chief Phillips. He's currently just finishing a brush fire down at about milepost 42 on I-15. So I am here in his place. Ran into the mayor, as she mentioned this morning, and she just asked that I come and update everyone on fire season. It's upon us. We've had
Good timing.
He's not gonna relieve you either.
he
no,
was waiting out there
Yeah,
for
he
you to
was.
get up.
I think that's how that happened. Anyway, yeah, we've had an especially busy last maybe 5 or 6 days. We've actually been busy for a couple of weeks now, but just a couple of things that we wanted to make you aware of and bring to your attention. We had a pretty good sized fire start June 9th out in the Pine Valley area. It was called the North Fire, burned about 500 acres. We had 2 of our pieces of equipment on that fire at the request of the federal folks that were in charge of that, our Tender 12 and our Tender 11. They were there Saturday through Monday. That was a human caused fire. It was located on the Dixie National Forest. They released us from that fire, and we got a request to send our Rush 11, which is one of our Type 6 brush trucks, to Mountain Air, New Mexico. So they left really early Monday morning, June the 12th, arrived down there safely at their post. They were on what's called a prepo, or a preposition assignment, where the fire managers down there get nervous because things are hot, dry, and windy, and so they pre-position resources on the forest down there. So we were down there under that supplemental fire contract, fire stuff that we do, got requested and went down there. They were there just maybe 10 or 12 hours and got assigned to a 100-acre fire. They worked on that fire for about a day and a half, and then we just found out that we're going to be reassigned to a Type 1 fire, which is a really big fire. And Mayor's not aware of this, so last part, everything up to this part, they just got reassigned maybe an hour ago to a Highline fire near Payson, Arizona. For that fire from New Mexico about 7 o'clock in the morning. So we're we're busy with that stuff, and we've got those guys out doing their thing. We've had 5 human-caused fires in the last 3 days within our response area, one of which was a pretty significant 6-acre fire down at the bottom of 800 West and burned old barns and things of that nature. So we just want to, remind everyone that they need to be really careful, and everything that we've gotten recently has been human-caused. So
Not a good idea to burn weeds on winds or
it is
30 miles.
not a good idea. Yep. Went to another one today that was someone burning weeds, and so, well, the wind wasn't blowing when I started burning. Anyway, I did get cited for it.
The wind blows in Cedar City?
Indeed, and it's hot and dry.
I was, this is completely off the subject, but it's on the subject. Couldn't figure out how an exploding refrigerator caused that fire in London, but apparently they switched to a kind of coolant in the refrigerators over there that's more earth friendly, but it's extremely explosive. So they've had several refrigerators explode over there, and this one caused a lot of death.
They're also saying that that building was just recently remodeled with an EFIS system, which is that foam system that they put on the outside of buildings, and they're kind of thinking those are maybe a good carrier of fire. So
Wow.
anyway, good comment.
Horrible.
Thank you. Are there any other staff comments? No? Okay, then we will move on to our public agenda with our public comment portion, and we will start with the Elks presentation.
Mayor and council members and other city officials. I'm Alan, this is Bob Tuckett, and Carrie Davis is taking pictures. We're here to present the flags the Cedar City Elks give for the Veterans Park every year, so that there's always good flags at the Veterans Park. Because in case people don't know it, the American flag is really unique to the Elks. We were the first group to ever respond to actually make Flag Day. So Flag Day is a very important day to all of us, and we want to thank you all for your support, service to the community, and everything you do to make this city a place to live. So thank you all. And I've got the flags right there, so I'm just going to leave them there if that's all right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
donation each year and the impact it
Well,
has.
we appreciate all of you. We just
Thanks for your
Thank you all.
generosity. Thank you.
Thank you.
And they're made in the USA. That's even better.
And in case you didn't notice, our scout troop that presented and the colors or did the pledge and everything, that's the scout troop that the Elks sponsors.
Oh,
So it was all tied together.
they did a great job.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to our Youth Volunteer Corps of Cedar City presentation.
Hello, everyone. So we're the Youth Volunteer Corps. They're the Youth Volunteer Corps, part of the Youth Volunteer Corps. They're 11 to 18-year-old amazing volunteers. We volunteer throughout the city all year long, trying to make a difference.
Cindy, you got to say your name.
I was gonna
I'm
say.
Cindy Rose. Anyways, last year for 2016, we are donating a mock check. Last time we did this, it was written in the paper that we donated this much money. So this is a mock check representing the amount of their volunteer hours that they volunteered to Cedar City in 2016, which is $82,000.
Wow.
Ooh.
So they're a pretty impressive group of kids. And we are non-funded. We're always looking for some sponsorships, anything that can come our way. And we're always happy to volunteer if you have anything for us.
Thank you very much.
Anybody have questions about YBC? Want to ask them what they do, what they like?
How much are they getting an hour to earn 82,000? No, I mean, in hour wise.
Oh, we did a national number and it was $23.65 an hour.
Great. Good for
So
you.
YBC is an international organization also. And we have about 42 affiliates throughout the United States and a couple up in Canada. We just celebrated 30 years of YBC, and each year headquarters sends out everybody's year, and that's how we got this. Was from
What would you say was your favorite project, ladies?
There you go. I told you. Answer. Say loud.
Okay.
Will you come up and talk in the microphone now? I know, and then just state your name.
Okay. I'm Madison Warner.
Thank you.
One of my favorite volunteer projects is the scavenger hunts that we do, and basically we just go door to door and ask for like food donations of like cans and boxes or whatever, and then we give them to the local food shelves or like TLC and stuff. So those are fun.
Great.
Thank you. What are a couple of the other projects you guys do? You get to come up to the microphone too.
Dang it. My name is Jessie Carter, and we also do a yard sale. It's really fun. We just recently did this year's yard sale. Exactly how long ago?
This was our first. Usually we do a gala every year for our fundraiser, and this year we did a yard sale. So we just did it. And
Okay.
you want to tell them about it?
Sure. Exactly how much did we get? I don't remember.
I don't know exactly, but we did a yard sale that we made over $6,000 at.
Great.
So yay for that.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
What else do we
Okay.
do? We adopt the Memorial Park for the summertime and we do all the weed maintenance. And you guys come up with other stuff.
So I'm Sammy Bushman, and usually about once a month we volunteer at the Happy Factory, and we just oil lots of cars for them so they can help get all the cars out to all of the people who need toys. So that's one of the funnest ones we do. So.
I'm Kelsey Grimshaw, and we do the water festival, and we fill up balloons, and it's just really fun watching all the kids have lots of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Morgan Carter, and I really like when we help with the 2111, the TLC food pantry. It's so much fun because we get to help like people who don't have like a lot of food, so we like help them get their food every Wednesday. So, okay.
Thank you guys so much for everything you do for our community. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back to you. I'll endorse it and cash it.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to address the city council at this time about an item that's not on the agenda? Okay. No. All right, then we will move on to our business agenda with our public portion, starting with the consent agenda first. Item number 1, approval of minutes dated May 17th and 24th, 2017. Approval of bills dated June 2nd, 2017. Approve the sale of city property located east of the Aquatic Center at 2090 West Royal Hunt Drive. Approve bid from Dual Construction in the amount of $191,355 for the cemetery office building. Approve awarding bids and entering into blanket contracts with the following vendors: streetlight maintenance, Marshall Evans; pavement marking, straight stripe. Let's see, small concrete projects, Glebe Construction; installed asphalt, Western Rock; street materials, Western Rock; Mel Clark, Ashton Brothers; crack seal asphalt, chip seal, oil supply and delivery, asphalt system, and Cockman. Let's see, 7, chip seal, asphalt, Oil Applicator, JT Pearson, Asphalt Street, Crack Seal, Spencer Asphalt, Towing, Bradshaw Chevrolet, Sewer Line Repair and Placement, John Orton Excavating. Approve the following committee appointments: Downtown Parking Authority, Steve Jolly, Library Board, Bruce Winslow, and Lee Montgomery. Yes.
Mayor, before I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, I need to disclose that there's a payment going to my company for a storage unit that the task force has been renting for many years. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Okay, now we will move to our action agenda with item number 7, consider approval of Ashdown Forest PUD Phase 9. Dave Smith?
I appeared before you exactly 6 months ago, which was my birthday, and now it's Flag Day, so I show up on special occasions, I guess. But I hope that.
Will you state your name, Dave?
Oh,
just
I'm
for the
sorry,
record?
David Smith.
Thank you.
So as you can see the map up there, what the proposal is to provide a second access to our property and that property of the university, which is contiguous, as you can see there. Well, I guess their property doesn't show up as a separate parcel the way that's laid out. But the northeast portion of that property, there's 22 acres that the University Foundation owns. And then we own 55 acres, which includes the place down there that calls it 23 lots, which that's this 9 of Ashdown Forest. Well, I was sent on my mission 6 months ago, given a year of tabling the approval of the application. We either get legal authority to become annexed to the existing Ashdown Forest or to find a second access. I was basically turned down pretty flat by the Ashdown access across Bridgewater. So then I turned my attention to dealing with our neighbor, which is the only place that I could get access, and that was through Linford Nelson's family trust. So it's that green line there, which goes out to Wedgwood. The last time I was here, the city attorney and I went up and met with the city engineer, and it was his suggestion that we put it along the existing boundary with Linford Nelson's original 10-acre parcel, which is where he has his equestrian center. And so that's what we did. I talked to Linford Nelson. He preferred going up where that one shows, which is one that was master planned by IBI back when all of our property, including the rest of this neighborhood, was in a master plan development zone, which was created and then repealed later on. So at this point, we are in a position where we're being told that we either have to get Ashdown Forest declarant to declare us to be part of Ashdown Forest, or we have to find a second access. Well, with respect to the first option, I'd just like to remind the city council that this was a proposal that came before the council 10 years ago as a 76 lot addition to the city. It was Forest 8 at that point, and it extended from where you see that 23 lot one, and go all the way to the corner of the property up where you can see where there'd been grading done to build some of those little stub roads. So there was a 76 lot subdivision, which went all the way through the process. It was approved all the way to the final plat. The final plat was in the process of being circulated for signatures. And the decision was made not to proceed because of the downturn in the economy, because the city had required us to provide $1,045,000 additional bond to do the 76 lots. Already put in approximately $1 million into development of about 32 lots. And so here we are with proposing that 23 of them be added. And that would be, we would be extending the roadway that's shown on the map, just says Ashdown Forest Phase 9. It would connect up with the existing street in right there. Yes, connects up with the existing streets going through Canyon Gate. And then going out would give us another access, which would go out to Wedgewood. The other access that we've got comes down and goes out on Nichols Canyon Road to the south. I just got some information from the city attorney suggesting that this doesn't solve the problem, that we've got to have an access that goes all the way up to the east, past the existing Canyon Gate, and then it would have to go through the state trust lands and then to get into our property. I don't have any way of accomplishing that. I can't force people to give us easements. We do have an easement from the Nelson family that was given to us back when we sold them that property in 1981. We reserved a right-of-way through their property. And all I can say is that when we annexed to the city in 1996, we had 2 accesses that was required to develop our property. We participated in the SID, which paid for these 2 crossings. Annexation agreement states clearly that upon the building of those 2 accesses, we should be allowed to develop all of our property. One, we can do 80 lots. If we put in 2, we can do all our property. So we had access. Our access got shut off because the city approved a PUD that now you can see we can't drive through Ashdown Forest to get to our property. So if it's true that we can't solve the problem with what I proposed today, that means we have no way to solve the problem unless the city does something to accommodate us. I mean, we're willing to do whatever we have to do just to get started. You know, we've been sitting here for several years now in the city council back, I think it was in I don't know how many years ago now, but did pass a proposal among, I think there was 6 options available, and one of them was to work out an agreement with us on how we would resolve the problem here. Well, the Ashdown Forest Homeowners Association, I believe their lawyers here again tonight, they're just flat out saying, we don't want Ashdown Forest to property. We were forced to become Ashdown Forest because the city said we couldn't develop our property unless we were. So I don't know what you want to do with it, but I think our proposal solves that. The city engineer said that that would work. And I understand now that they've changed their mind that it doesn't work. And if that's the case, I don't know where we go. But I hope that I got the message wrong, that what I proposed does work. And I would ask you to approve that.
Michael Carter, I represent the university. Most of you are aware of that. Mr. Smith set the table for my brief remarks, indicating that property contiguous to his has been donated to the university a number of years ago. I think it was in context of the final fundraising push that culminated with sufficient value being donated to allow us to build the new science building. And this property that is now involved was donated by Frank and Celeste Nichols, for which we remain grateful. The fact remains that we are hamstrung in doing anything with that donation in much the same way as Mr. Smith is, because we sit wedged right in the middle. And so we've been meeting with him about this, understanding as he has, primarily through him, that the proposed access would be adequate to serve the city's purposes. It's my request, our request on behalf of the university, that something be done here consistent with this or in reasonable fashion similar, so that these access issues can be addressed and resolved in such a way that the donation that we've received can actually be cashed out in some way and that we can use it for other meaningful purposes. So it's our position simply that we'd like to see this access issue resolved. The meetings that we've had on campus suggested the resolution of a number of these easements that work through drainages and existing easements harm no one that they are either part of the paperwork that's on file. The easements exist. Mr. Smith is proposing that those easements be utilized in this constructive way. And ultimately, the idea would be that all of those property owners in that sector would benefit if we could come up with a plan that would address the city's access and allow some development in that area. So we're here primarily in support, stating that I have the university is likewise hampered by the ongoing access problem, and we would seek some resolution. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just clarify where the SUU's property is on this map. This is SUU's property. This is Mr. Smith's area that was being developed as a PUD, but never completed the process. So
Show me the SUU again.
SUU is that little,
this,
oh, it's the whole big piece.
Okay.
yeah, right there.
Okay. So, and who owns the piece in between?
That's Mr. Smith, I think. I'm pretty sure that's Mr. Smith right there.
So what was the new wrench thrown into the works?
Yeah, let me go back to the other map and show you that. Our engineering standards say that you can only have up to 80 units on a single access.
Right.
Okay. Everybody was thinking that this point here was the single access.
Right.
But even when you put this road in out this way, there's a point right here that's a single access to the majority of this subdivision right here. There's only 15 lots, I believe. Yeah, 15 lots in that 80 lot subdivision that would have two accesses going out.
So you have it coming out on the west end, but you don't. But when you move eastward, you're down to one access again.
Yeah, there's no other access point going east. This is the only access point for these 65. And so that would make it so Mr. Smith could put 15 lots up here and still stay within, underneath the 80 lot criteria. But I'm sure he intends on eventually putting more lots than that in there. One thing that's going to need to happen in order for SUU to develop their property is this second access is going to have to here to the SUU property that's right here, and then depending on how they configure their roads within that property, the second access for the remaining lots in here.
So this right here is owned by some completely different entity. This is SUU here.
That's correct.
So where your hand is, go up. That's state trust lands.
That's Sitla.
Okay.
Yeah.
See the blue?
Blue area is state trust land.
Sitla?
This is BLM.
And the blank to the left is Linford. Yeah.
Okay.
When I say blank, I mean no color.
Are there no houses on both of these or on this lot?
Yes, I think all the homes are built in there. So.
The other issue that the city needs to consider is the fact that at this point in time, there's no agreement with Linford Nilsson. So we've been told there's easements that go across that property, but there's nothing stating that these easements, I believe the plan is to combine these easements. I don't see how we do that, period. But if there is a chance, Linford Nilsson's got to sign off on it. I mean, it's going across his property. So until we have his agreement in place, I don't see the point of approving anything. From my perspective, best legal ground the city can stand on is we haven't met the developmental standards at this point. And until we have an agreement from Limford saying we actually can go through there, I don't see how the standards ever met. So it should probably be either tabled till those conversations can come to a conclusion one way or the other. That would probably be the best direction to go.
But what I'm hearing is even if they get those easements combined, that's still not gonna give them access.
It gives him at least 15 lots he could develop.
Yeah, yeah, they need, now Limford owns the rest of the land going up till you hit that Sitla land, so there'd have to be some sort of agreement put in place.
How hard would it be for you, Dave, to get an easement across Sitla on that edge?
I don't really know, because didn't know I would have to talk to them, but I know that from what I hear, they're slow moving, so.
Sitla's not nearly as bad as the BLM.
Yeah, the BLM would be worse. Well, I guess, seems to me that someone's got to budge someplace, and that was what the city council voted to do several years ago, was to work something out. And when you talk about the fact there's only one easement, I mean one access, that's not true. There's two accesses. It's just inconvenient for the city to stand behind the one access that we helped build, because they're getting some flack from the homeowners association in a PUD that was allowed to block us off. Now, that wasn't our fault, and maybe it was just an oversight, but if there had just been like 800 more feet of city street before they got to the crossing, we wouldn't be here today, because we'd have had a city access that we paid for. By blocking it off, and then they're saying that they don't want to deal with us, that means that 800 feet of street is basically, it just shuts us off and puts a moratorium on our property.
But Dave, that's none of our business, is it? I mean, PUD, that's their.
We granted the PUD.
Right. But
And you blocked us from using the access that we paid for by approving it. Now, I understand that it was probably an oversight, but that's why I think that everybody's got to try to figure out a way to resolve it. You can't just say because they don't like it that they win and we lose.
Well, there's one other side of this, is that this was originally being platted to be another phase of the PUD. So when the economic downturn came, it was almost through the process. But when the economic downturn came, Mr. Smith decided to stop the development. Things have happened since then that this is, this PUD no longer desires to have this development as part of their PUD.
What year did that become a PUD? This 800 feet of road.
Ashdown Forest?
Yeah.
I think it was
early
about 2005.
2000s. Yeah, 2005 years ago.
Yeah. Well, we proceeded to be part of Ashdown Forest with a 76 lot development, which was handled by Frank Nichols. I mean, he had all of our property plotted out to be 3 more additional parts of Ashdown Forest. So we went along with it because we were told we didn't have any choice. Well, now we're being told if he signs his name to this, we can proceed. And he has not agreed to that. I tried to contact him. I've known him for almost 40 years. My response to my email was no talk. So I got stonewalled there. And I know as the homeowners association is represented here tonight, they're going to tell you the same thing. We can't do it. So we're landlocked. We're dead in the water. We've owned this property for 40 years. We owned it before anybody else owned any of this other property. So I guess we're just out of luck. But there are ways to resolve it, but I'd rather resolve it peacefully. I think it's pretty simple. Just say either we can have an access, and I understand now, and it was not explained to me, and I think that the city engineer and I was saying, oh, well, we forgot there's a point at which there's only one access. Well, I've been working off the assumption that we can resolve this by extending down the Wedgewood. Well, if we can't do that because you've got some standard, which I don't think that's an ordinance, maybe it is, but we've complied with all of the city ordinances in this development. And like I say, we got all the approvals from the engineering department to build 76 lots. And I don't think we should have to go back and start over again because we got that approval. And But if we have to do it that way, there's other ways of dealing with it, but I don't want to go there. I want to just,
Do we have any legal mechanism by which we could designate access through that PUD on that 800 feet at this point?
No. That's privately owned community. They have their own rules, their CCNRs, and there's only one person who can do that, and that's Frank Nichols.
Okay.
that's not exactly true, but I'm not going to go into that because I've done a lot of research on the background of this whole thing, and that's going to get messy. I hope we don't have to go there.
Did you? Whichever one, either one of you, as long as you state your name, we can, either one can go.
Mayor and Council, Carson Bagley, on behalf of the Ashdown Forest Homeowners Association. I won't rehash any of the prior objections or concerns that have been voiced on behalf of the association. As I understand what Mr. Smith has presented today, it doesn't appear to go through the Ashdown Forest subdivision. So I don't think we have an objection to what he's presented today with the easement there. Obviously, there's concerns by the city on that. One concern that I would hope would be addressed at some point is the naming of Ashdown, so it doesn't confuse people. You know, we're referring to property as Ashdown Phase 9, but I don't think it would be appropriate to name it as Ashdown Forest Phase 9 if it's not part of the homeowner association and subdivision, but that's something that the council can consider at a later point. Do you have any questions or concerns you'd like me to address that haven't been?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Mike?
I'm not sure at this point.
You still have to say your name again.
Michael Carter.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry. I'm not sure at this point how to articulate my representation because I've come to this in my official role, but I see it in some regard as a city citizen. And I wanted to just mention that I think needs to be a part of the record. Kit, would you use your pointer to point at your holding pond right there, please?
There's a point.
Oh, I'm not very well schooled on this equipment. If I understand this, and I'm very new to the discussion, that Mr. Smith was very involved in helping the city with the property here on which this collection pond was built. That was originally planned for near the interstate, and the reasonableness and the equities of imposing on what's now obviously quite viewable and valuable commercial real estate was preserved by this being placed here. It probably does a better job of containment and a number of things. I'll leave that to the engineers. My point is that Mr. Smith's goodwill was a significant part of that being where it is. Another thing that's not been mentioned is down in this area, I've looked at some of the paperwork, there is an easement here that Mr. Smith owns that is part of what the city needs to accomplish the remainder of its drainage. That in trying to clear up some of these easements that are referenced over here, he has indicated to me and to us in an earlier meeting a willingness to convey that to the city for their drainage and water evacuation purposes from this whole system. I simply felt compelled to mention some of the goodwill that I think has been involved in Mr. Smith over the course of his dealings with this property, and to sit here and listen to him be constrained and landlocked and forced to look at alternatives that are financially very strident. There seems to be a matter of equity here that ought to be taken into consideration. I thought it was worth putting that on the record and making everyone aware to that degree. Now, there may be some particulars. I don't want to go where I don't belong, Kit. I know that you understand this better than I do, but still, there are those matters that I think argue equitably in favor of the city trying to step forward and help get this resolved. Thank you.
Just for clarification, the two access rule is that mandated by our ordinance or by our fire rating?
By our city engineering standards, which is approved by resolution.
And it's a safety issue for fire and any other sort of emergency.
That's the main purpose of it.
What would happen if Mr. Smith at the university wanted to make, we've got 15 lots we could add. What if they wanted to make oversized lots and sell them at a premium? Would that be permissible in that zoning overlay? That's something we could change that for them, could we not?
There's no such thing as a maximum lot size.
Okay. So one possibility is that perhaps Mr. Smith could take 8 lots, the university could take 7, and they could do that and stay under the 80 lot maximum and develop that as maybe a higher scale, larger lot sort of properties. And still be within the 80 lot access.
Dave, wouldn't an easement on that edge of Sitla property benefit them as well in the future? I mean, if they ever develop that land or sell it, isn't that going to be something they can use? How hard would it be to contact them
So
I don't know that it helps them. They need to get out to the north.
SUU
Blue is Sitla.
Blue Sitla.
is Sitla, and this is
Yep.
the university's here.
Yes.
So if the university made a deal with Sitla, then we just need to talk to Mr. Nelson then. That would, university and Mr. Smith could work together to go through this, leave this out of it completely. And
That's what I'm saying is contact, because they're going to need, if they develop that land, they're going to need an outlet there too. So what would be the possibility of contacting them and see what could be raised?
Well, I guess for their purposes, all they need is 2 accesses to get them somewhere out to the north. They don't have to come our direction with an access. The other thing is, talking about fire and safety, we still got Bridgewater, which at one point was identified as for ingress and egress for emergency purposes only. And then it was changed to a full access so that it could be, Ashdown Forest could be extended into our property. Well, if it's not going to be Ashdown Forest, there's no reason why it still can't be used as another access. It's a street that's been built and it comes out in a different spot so that you'd have, even if we just do the one we're talking about with Nelson, we've got 3 ways to get in.
what would be the ruling on that? If it was gated and only available, the only emergency services had a gate to that bridge? Would that satisfy the requirement for the second access, since the only reason it would be used is for emergency use?
Wasn't grass too, though, for the citizens?
Oh,
Yeah, there's 2 aspects, for reason for that 80 lot rule. Number 1 is safety, and number 2 is, we try to keep a neighborhood feel in the neighborhoods, and if you can, the rule of thumb is you get 10 trips a day per lot. Those people that are down there into that single access are seeing 800 vehicles per day come back and forth past their homes.
So two possible options are to boost your lot size, and secondly, talk to Sitla, because they would have an interest in getting working with you, I think, in developing some sort of a deal there as well.
Well, the other comment I'd like to make, as long as we're talking about the impact of 80 lots being a limit for one access, is I don't know how many houses they're building. I didn't go out there and count them, but I think Canyon Gate's not anywhere near filled out. I mean, it's got a lot of empty lots, just like you have in a lot of subdivisions. So you don't have that impact of 80 households all going out through one now anyway. But I guess I've spoken enough. You know where my position is.
Well, Mike, with university status, what kind of relationship do you have with Sitla where you're contiguous to their property? Could you, I mean, would you have any advantage, as a university working with Sitla on that?
Well,
Will you still state your name again?
Michael Carter, yes. That's interesting speculation. To try and represent the relationship we have with Sitla, I'm at some loss. I would probably say that we have a positive and have worked with Sitla in a couple of different aspects. I don't know why we couldn't approach them and inquire at a minimum to see how they feel about this and to see what potentials they see or what limitations they might feel it imposes on what they have. The point is I find no objection in trying to see where they stand and see what could come of that. But we're coming at that very late, as Mr. Smith suggests. The representations that he's been relying on along the way haven't opened up discussions to any degree with Sitla. So this would be a brand new aspect, but I have no objection to trying.
We're just in a tough spot as a city. I mean, you've got, the PUDs, they're private and we're, if we make an exception for you, we can't, that's a slippery slope. We just can't do that.
I would move that we table this once again, but add an additional 6 months, so making it another year from now. Mr. Smith has diligently been working in the past 6 months, just to let that be on the table for, give him another, add 6 months onto that, so it makes it a full year. He can keep working on it without having to go through the entire process again.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that we couldn't work something out.
Item number 8, consider, yes, the actual item number 8 that's on the agenda. Consider approval of an ordinance vacating the Country Meadow Phase 2 PUD Second Amendment plat. See, Jay, anything else that you want to add, Tyler?
So as you recall, this is just to vacate an amendment that left these two parcels kind of in no man's land. It's just to clean it up for the county recorder.
All right. Are there any questions from the council related to this?
So move to approve the ordinance vacating these two PUD.
Second.
All right. We'll start with a roll call. We'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Okay. So number 9 is tabled. Item number 10, consider approval of the final plat for the Fairview subdivision.
Good evening, council, mayor, city staff. Tim Watson with Watson Engineering. Again, we're requesting the final approval for the Fairview subdivision tonight. Any questions that have come up over the last week?
You sure you don't want to make some questions for Tim?
Sure. I think we've got.
How fast can an unladen swallow fly? Motion to approve.
Second.
Who seconded that? You both.
Either one of us.
All right, whoever. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 11, consider an ordinance amending chapter 32, removing provisions requiring PUD, CC, and Rs to contain a 30% limitation on rental units.
I saw my note, if you want to go knock yourself out. See, we just approved that one.
So based on our conversation last week with that rental limitation and problems it has caused and will cause developments in the future, there's discussion by Mr. Cousins, and I think that he's kind of spearheading this to get rid of that 30% rental limitation to make it, one, a little easier for developers to make rentals for these college students that this housing seems to be geared for. And then second, just to kind of take the burden off the city to have this on the books and have to, in essence, enforce it with really very little way of doing so.
If we remove that provision, that part of the ordinance that requires that PUDs not have over 30% rentals, wouldn't the PUD owners have every right in their CCNRs to make that provision if they wanted to?
Yes.
So did what we talked about last week constitute a public hearing on this topic, or did we change the?
24 hours.
You don't need to.
Okay. Motion to,
Do you have something to add?
Just, I want to disclose, I did last week, but I just want to disclose I'm working on that project, so. Professional.
and I am not, therefore I will
You make
propose that we
amend
motion
that
to
order.
approve that amendment.
I'll second that.
All right, we'll start with Councilman Adams.
Aye.
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 All right, item number 12, consider approval of the final plat for the Cedar Woods subdivision.
It's just like whack-a-mole, he just keeps coming back.
With a smile every time. Tim Watson Engineering,
Do
requesting.
you notice how he's gotten so good at saying his name each time?
I learned it in kindergarten, go figure,
Yes.
right? Cedarwood Estates PUD, we're requesting the final approval for the subdivision for the first 4 buildings of phase 1, with future phases potentially coming down the road.
Motion to approve.
This is the one that this is the one you're working on?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's all connected, I mean.
Yeah.
So I thought I should have done it before the first vote, but I forgot, so.
I just,
To get out there.
when we were talking about the other one, I was like,
Sorry.
There's just 2 items we're waiting on. It's fine if we approve it. It'd just be contingent on the city getting a signed copy of the CCNRs. And then we're just waiting for the bond agreement to be signed and.
Motion to approve upon receipt of the bonding and the CCNR documentation.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
My understanding is those are in hand tonight, so we'll have those turned in first thing in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 13, consider approval of an ordinance to amend chapter 34 of the city's ordinance, which outlines the requirement to operate taxi cabs in the city.
So, as you recall from last week, the state changed its laws, no longer requiring a taxi cab endorsement. Endorsement is merely taking a closed book test and paying an additional fee. So the question for the council is, does the city want to still require that? That test is still offered. We want to amend our ordinance to fall in line with the state's.
And this amendment would, a positive on this would align us with the state, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Consider approval of a resolution approving the fiscal year 2017-18 budget.
We haven't made any adjustments to the budget that's been proposed, so.
Move to approve.
Let me just mention that my wife is a city employee. I'll mention that again. I mentioned it last week, but just so it's
Second.
on the record.
Second.
Have the motion that. All right, we'll start with Councilman Adams.
Aye.
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 Wonderful. Consider approval of the certified tax rate.
They gave us some preliminary numbers on that today, so we'll be able to approve that next week, it looks like. So I'll have it for you next council meeting.
We make that a joint action work.
Does it have to? It doesn't have to be in joint action work, does it?
We cannot wait for 2 weeks to do
Yeah, do we have to have it
For the
done?
certified tax rate, can it wait for
Doesn't
2
matter.
weeks?
Shouldn't, I
kinda like-
guess.
They give it to us late every year.
Every year.
Over
I'm
here.
serious.
It's gonna
Half the number. It's
It just isn't as.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just keep that on the agenda until next week. Item number 16, consider approval of resolution amending the fiscal year 2016-17 budget.
So on the budget amendment, we added about $6,500 in the debt service fund for the Build America bond sequester that we received. So we have to make up that difference. And then with our fire department down fighting in these fires, we adjusted their payroll $20,000, but that will be reimbursed by the agencies they're working for. So those are the two changes from the original proposal.
He came off vacation for one day and came in.
Move to approve the resolution amending the 2016-2017 budget. Second.
All right, we'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
That's the way I went
Aye.
last time.
Aye.
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 Does everyone know that Jason is actually July, August, September, October, and November? Jason.
Oh, my goodness.
That's witty. So with that, can we get a motion to move into, adjourn this one and move into our other meeting?
I'll make a motion to move out of city council meeting and move into RDA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful, thank you.
Wow, I'm not sure where your mind
Where-
goes. I can't.
When
you
you're
are
on,
so
when you're on
creative.
stage in a classroom for 6 hours a day, you gotta have all sorts of junk to throw at them.
Lee, can we hire you to conduct